Hi guys, um, welcome to my final video of the year 2022. I battled trying to decide whether I wanted to make this video, and I think the main reason was because I felt like there's so many things I wanted to talk about this year, and I just didn't know where to start. But I think the first thing I need to say is I'm so grateful. The last 2 years has been a whirlwind for me. I came to the UK January 17, 2021. I always talk about it, at least I know I have talked about it once or twice on this channel. But this video isn't really even for this channel. It isn't about making a vlog or YouTube centered kind of influencer type of video, because starting this channel was something I stumbled on. It wasn't something I thought about creating a brand or creating something on YouTube. But this video is more about me giving a testimony of God's goodness in my life. I used to be the kind of, growing up, I used to be kind of teenager who would always give testimony in church, because to me, I thought it was just an amazing testament to God's goodness in my life that I went through 3 months or however months for each term that I was in boarding school, because just surviving all of the challenges of boarding school was immense. After boarding school, getting to university, the frequency with which I used to give testimonies in church kind of reduced, and then because I left my home church and I went out into the world, I wasn't saying or really speaking about the things God has done for me. And testimonies can be a little bit like bragging. It can feel like someone is speaking a lot about, oh yes, God has blessed me and just been so good to me. Sometimes for the people listening to someone else's testimonies, it may feel like you're a little jealous. There's always that tinge of feeling like, oh yes, so what? And sometimes that holds a lot of people back from giving their testimonies. But I found that this year, in the last couple of weeks actually, there's some testimonies I've heard in church that have really felt like God pushed those people to come out and give those testimonies for me, for my sake, so I can see this is what He's doing or has done in someone else's life, and He can do for you. It gives you that remembrance to remember the God that you believe in, and that's what testimony is. That's what the gospel was all about. That's what the disciples were all about. Those, especially those who were with Jesus while He was alive, they went out to testify about what He had done for them and what He had seen, what they had seen Him do. That's the important thing with testimony. It's that you're able to tell people and say, yes, I know you didn't have a physical experience of this man, but we did. And come, let's tell you of the amazing things that He has done in our lives. And if for that alone is an amazing reason, is the best kind of reason to give a testimony. So I'm going to do that before the year is up. I'm recording this video at 4 minutes to 7 p.m. I'm going to make sure that this video goes out before midnight 2022, because I cannot let the year 2022 go by without first testifying to the goodness of God in my life and the things that He has done for me this year. Earlier on this year, I did a post on my Instagram about how God helped me get my current job. And I'm just going to post a link to it because I don't want to go over that testimony again. I went into as much detail of what happened, and I feel if you are watching this video and you are going through a challenging period, you're applying for things, you're getting rejections, you're not even sure if you're going to be accepted, just put yourself out there, keep applying, keep believing. There's something great for you out there. There's something great that's coming your way. Take all of the lessons that you're getting from where you are and keep trusting God with His leading for where He's taking you to, because God has a plan for you. He has a plan for every single one of us. And that was the big thing that I got out of my job search. I was looking small. I'll just take anything entrance. But where God was taking me to was somewhere completely different. And I've been able to use my skills, my knowledge, my experience to help my company, to do the work that I love, that I enjoy, and it has given me immense pleasure. I would have never imagined, just seeing it, just seeing the headline, and I was thinking, oh no, this can't be for me. I can't possibly get accepted. But God was thinking something else. So if you are in that situation, you're seeing a role, you're seeing an opportunity that you're feeling like you're not qualified for, if you have all of the experience that you feel should be enough for you, don't give in to that doubt. The basics should be there. There are basic qualifications you need to have. You have all of those, but the only thing holding you back is you thinking, well, I don't think this is enough. Just do it. Apply. Trust in God. Be honest with who you are. Be honest with what you want to achieve, and go for it. The most that you will hear is a no, but you can also hear a yes. So trust in God and do that. That's just what I'm going to say about that first testimony. The next one I'm going to talk about is my wedding. I haven't talked about how I met my husband. I was supposed to do that in the wedding video on the wedding website, but I never got around to doing that. So I'm just going to give a quick run through in this video to talk about following the leading of God, and just to talk about that testimony of how I met my husband. And yeah, so the very beginning of how I met my husband was nearly 10 years ago. Yes, actually more than about 12 years ago. I was in my first year in university, and I was in my fellowship, and yeah, I met him, just after service. I don't remember this meeting. That's the crucial thing. That's the first thing. I do not remember this meeting. I probably do somewhere vaguely in my mind, but I don't actively remember meeting him. He does. Now, flash forward, and then after that, there was another incident with some light boxes. Anyways, we had a brief chat, and that was it. Flash forward 11 years later, I get to the UK. I always get to the UK. I got to the UK in January, and now when I got to the UK, I didn't have so much of a plan. I mean, I knew I wanted to do my master's and then afterwards get a job and all of that. But when it came to marriage, I've always wanted to get married. So that was a heavy thing for me. And before coming to the UK, one of the main concerns and fears I had was that I wasn't able to find someone who wanted to marry me in Nigeria. I'm leaving Nigeria and going outside of the country. Not like there are no men in the UK, but it basically felt like I was starting again from the beginning. And I was terrified about that, and I was scared. And I felt like, okay, if I wasn't able to find someone that, you know, in a country where I'd been for literally almost 30 years, how was I going to find someone in this new country where I don't know anyone? The only people I knew were my family. Where am I supposed to meet people? You know, in Nigeria, you think, okay, yeah, you have your university circles or secondary school circles or church circles or family circles, so you're bound to find someone somewhere in those circles. But in Nigeria, in the UK, there's none of those circles. How am I supposed to find someone? And then so a significant thing happened, and this is the testimony. At some point in the middle of the year, I think around June, late June, early July, I believe, I was watching a video, and it was of Adesua and Banky W, and they were talking about how they had their child, because at that point I think they had just had their first baby. And before then, people didn't really know that they were struggling with infertility and things, and they had done in vitro, I think, and they were going through it. They had a rough couple of months, maybe years even. And there was something significant that I think it was Banky W that said, and he said they had stopped trying, and they had gotten to the point where they were just like, we'll just enjoy our life. And then Adesua felt the leading, and so I think it was Adesua said that she said she felt the leading to she had like a last ovulation test, and she just felt the leading to just do that test, and she did the test, and the test said she was positive, she was ovulating, and so they did the deed because she was ovulating, and that was it. Now, and this happened after they stopped trying. So they were not using any of the fertility drugs, they were not doing any fertility treatments, they were just kind of she was just kind of allowing her body to get back to status quo, or to the base level, and then she used that. I clung onto the action that she took of doing the test. Because the thing about it is, when you are looking up to God for something, right, you're looking and you're praying and you're looking, the Bible itself says that faith without works is dead. Because you need to push, you need to walk, you need to go, right? Abraham, the father of faith, God called him out of his father's land, land of his forefathers, and called him to go into a new land where he will show him. He had to go, right? He didn't say, let's conceptualize it or pray about it. Pray, okay, I'm sending you out. Okay, God, you're sending me out. Okay, I'm gonna pray about. No, he had to go. He had to walk. He had to move there, and he had to show the action. Abraham, Isaac, when he was going to sacrifice Isaac, when God had asked him to sacrifice Isaac, God had to see the action. You have to take the action. There's something you have to do. It's not about not believing, and that's the thing, because sometimes we say, okay, let's help God in this thing. It's not about helping God. Now, then Banky and Adesua could have done it, so use the surrogate, or something. They could have. That's one action, and you think like, but it wasn't an action tied to the faith. The faith was, God will give us a child. The action was, well, we have to do something first, because you have to have sex to have a child. You have to have sex at the right time, and all of those things that came together, everything had come together for them to get that blessing. But they didn't know. They needed to take that action to see that blessing. And taking the action was doing the test. And then they got their baby. And it was like a light bulb somehow. And you always hear that preaching. You always, and that's the thing with the word of God. That's the thing. You know it, but at some certain moments when you hear it again, it's like it comes afresh. It's like it's new. And I clung to that. And I opened my app, and I opened, I think it was Google, and then I researched, I think, dating apps in the UK. Now I've tried what's the one, Tinder, and there's another one, I don't remember them anymore, but I know I tried Tinder in Nigeria, and I knew Tinder was just not for me, so I wasn't going to use Tinder, but I wanted to find what the other options there were for the UK, because this is the UK, it's new. I didn't know anything about what dating in the UK was like. I didn't know anybody in the UK. This was kind of like just coming out of COVID lockdown, so things weren't really open. It was difficult, so I wanted to sort of meet people. And I said, okay, you know what, this is not about finding a husband, let me just meet people. And so that was the idea. So I created a Hinge profile. So I found Hinge, and then I created a profile. And that night, I mean, quite obviously, people would message, but that night, or a few hours after I created my profile, my husband messaged me. And I saw his picture. Quite obviously, I knew he was Nigerian, but I did not recognize him. And he had this really nice written kind of message. I don't know if I'll post the message. I will ask him if he's happy with me posting the message. But he wrote it really well. So that, first of all, I thought, okay, well, he's polite. And he sent the message and said, oh, do you remember me? I was in fellowship. We first met, like in 2009 or 2010 or something. I was like, okay, yeah, I don't remember you. And immediately, quite obviously, I took a screenshot of his picture and I sent it to all my friends who were in the fellowship. And they said, well, do you remember this guy? Like, I don't. Like, I found him on this app, he's dating up, and I don't really remember him. And, like, oh no, we don't remember him. And so yeah, I didn't. But just the fact that he had known me from fellowship, and I'm a kind of person that I look at certain signs and certain things, and there's certain things that happen that I don't think is just coincidence. So I refuse to believe that, first of all, more than 10 years after first meeting this person, I meet someone who I knew 10 years before in the UK, where I know no one. And where I stay in the UK is literally like an hour and a half outside of London. And he was about 20 minutes away from me. What are the odds? So there were too many coincidences to just be coincidences. And I began to think, okay, God, what are you saying? The rest of it, I wouldn't really go into detail because it was a quick dating period for both of us. We both knew that we wanted to get married, and it was, at that point, it was more of figuring out if we wanted to get married to each other. So for me, the key thing I was looking out for was the peace. I kept looking out for God's peace in the decision and trying to determine if this person was the person that I would say ticked 80 of the 100%. I'm not going to go into the 80-20 rule and all of that, but I will say that I had a list. At that point, I had a list of things that I wanted in the person I was going to get married to. I don't have that list here. I'm not going to. Maybe I may. I don't know if I decide to continue with this channel, I may put up the list. But the crucial part for me was I wanted to feel God's peace in that decision to go ahead with marrying this person. And so we met in, I think it was August, and by November he had proposed, and by December, when my father came, he met my dad, and by January January this year, we had our introduction. And just after the introduction, my dad got sick. And so from January till till even after the wedding, it's felt like a whirlwind in my mind, because I'm not going to talk much about my dad's sickness. It's not my, I don't, I don't want to, it's not my testimony to tell. But what is my testimony to tell is the amount of support and help and prayers that we received in that period. I can't. Yeah, it's not my testimony to tell. My testimony really is from meeting my husband and then after the wedding. And so when I talk about meeting my husband and knowing that, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to get married, even after we got married, when we got married, I'd only known my husband. And it's a funny one, because yes, I had met him more than 10 years ago, but I had only sort of known him in terms of, oh yeah, been in each other's lives for less than a year. So it's like, come back and we're living together and we're trying to, get into this life thing. And it's so difficult. And this is the first time I'm saying this, and I'm going to try not to go into too much detail, but it was really, really hard. It was a really huge challenge trying to get to a balance in our married relationship. And for me, it felt like, okay, God, did I not hear well? It's like those moments where I know I felt that peace. I would have days where I would just break down and I would just cry and pray and be like, God, I know I heard that peace. Like I know I felt that peace. It wasn't even just like I heard it. I know I felt it, because I understand the kind of relationship I have with God. I understand the kind of dreams and leading I had leading up to the wedding. So I just kept feeling like, what happened? Why is this so difficult? It kept feeling like a struggle, like a fight. And I cannot put into words how the first few months after the wedding, coming back home, getting married, how it was. But the one thing that I can say is the amount of support that I wouldn't say we received, because I'm not sure about what people who were speaking to him, but on my part, the people I spoke to, particularly the women, and they were all married women who I spoke to, so both like my mother-in-law, my mother, sister, my friends, married friends, and even the older like aunties, there was this certain kind of like, how are you doing? It wasn't just like, oh, how you doing? Oh yeah, you just married. No, it was just like, it's like, you know, you don't know. I mean, you don't know the full details, but you know as well. It was like a knowing. It was like it was like a sixth sense. It's like that mother thing where your baby's crying and you just know your baby's crying, even though you can't physically hear your baby crying. Like, that's how it was. It was like it was that level, and that kind of support was really helpful for me, because they weren't saying anything, but they were saying a lot, and it made me, on some days, it made me feel like, okay, well, whatever it is that's happening now, it's not new. I'm not the first, and I will get through this. We will get through this. We will form a balance. We will work this out. You didn't make a mistake. And that's the big thing. And I'm not here talking about, how to keep your marriage or how to survive the first year of marriage. No, never have you done up to 1 year of marriage. But this is me testifying to God's goodness and wisdom in understanding what it is on my part. And the key thing for me was, because before we got married, I had felt that peace. I knew I had that peace. And then afterwards, there was a lot of struggle and a lot of challenge. I then started to doubt that I had had that peace. I then started to doubt and say that, God, maybe I made a mistake. Maybe we've made a mistake. Maybe I didn't hear from God. I started to doubt that. And there was this, I'm not sure if it was a sermon or it was even me just reading the Bible, but there was this moment where I think I was studying the word, and then it came to me that just because I was going through a challenging period didn't mean that God wasn't in it. See, it was like what happened with Job. And just because Job was going through a challenge, he lost everything, but God was literally there. Like before he lost everything, before the devil took everything away, the devil came to meet God to ask him if he can do that. So God was there. God saw, God knew, and he let it. So it was like, again, light bulb moments, like those things, but then at that moment it just kind of, and I went on my knees and I asked God for forgiveness, and I started walking in the positive of it. So this didn't mean that there were no arguments or fights. This didn't mean that there were no disagreements or challenges in terms of trying to balance conflicting natures and characters, really conflicting personalities. Trying to balance that is difficult. And so it wasn't like that removed it away, but my mindset in attacking those situations were different, because I wasn't attacking it from the place of, okay, we are so different, this is a mistake, I shouldn't have done this. It was from a place of, well, that's you, that's me. How can we work on this to make this better, to achieve things, to work on our relationship? It wasn't from a place of me doubting that peace I felt. It was a place accepting that even in the midst of the storm, that peace is still there. And it's not from something that my partner does or doesn't do. It comes from God. So conflicting personalities, very different people. And a lot of the times, there's some things that I would wish that he'd done or that he would know, but just because he doesn't know or he doesn't do it doesn't remove the fact that this relationship wasn't established by God, or this marriage wasn't established by God. So it's literally saying that God can give you a blessing, God can bless you with something. There will still be challenges, there will still be difficulties in it. It doesn't mean God didn't bless you with it. It doesn't mean it was a mistake, because God doesn't make mistakes. And that was the thing that kept coming. It's like, okay, if you're saying that you inadvertently, you saying you made a mistake, is saying I made a mistake. But God didn't, just because there's a challenge. So it's a work in progress, and at this moment it's from a place of understanding. And that is my testimony, is that God saw me through a particularly difficult year. It was a blessed year. It was an amazing year. I had my master's graduation, second master's ceremony. My dad got better, is getting better, and my marriage I'm enjoying the place where we are right now. And to be honest, yeah, I could have done without some of the a little of the tears that I shed in the beginning, but that was from my own stubbornness. That was from my own, like, pig-headedness and my own just unfocused nature. And I wouldn't give it up for anything. I am glad for where I am right now. It's a long ass testimony. I did not expect this to get so long. And if you got up to this point, thank you for sticking with me. And I really hope some things resonated. I hope some things stayed with you. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this channel in 2023, to be honest. I'm considering a slight shift in focus, because really this channel started off kind of like a fluke, and then it grew into something saying, okay, yeah, let's do video reviews, but I want to speak about a lot more. And I don't know if anyone would listen. I don't know if anyone would be interested in listening, but if you are and if you do, I promise and I hope that it is a blessing to you. I want to work more into being a blessing to someone in the year 2023. A lot more, speaking out a lot more about, first of all, testifying to God's goodness, and all of the things that I have learned in this journey of life. So, to sum up, 2022, it was an amazing year. And it was an amazing year, not even because of the blessings, because that's always what we look at. And yes, the blessings are great and amazing, and I thank God for them. I thank God for the challenges. I thank God for the challenging periods. And this 2022 has stretched me. 2022 really stretched me. I thought I had seen challenging moments, but 2022 showed me that God blesses, He adds no sorrow. Challenges will come, but it does not mean that what God has blessed you with was a mistake, because God doesn't do mistakes. If it happened to you, if you are in a situation right now, it's because there is a reason for it. For those who believe in Christ Jesus, God will work out everything in your favor for your good. That's His promise. That is always what it's going to be. Let no one make you feel any different, and you yourself don't allow self-doubt or fear or whatever it is in your mind and human understanding make you feel different. This human flesh, this body, the things that it wants is in complete conflict with your true nature in Christ, in the Spirit. So we need to always constantly put this flesh, subdue the flesh, put it under the control of the Holy Spirit, so that we're able to ascend to that realm of understanding where wherever it is that happens, you keep focused on the goal, on the promise that God has given. All things will work together for your good. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I pray you have a blessed 2023. I pray you have an amazing 2023. I pray that this year, this coming year, brings you all the blessings and goodness and favor and increase that you desire. I pray that your heart's desires come to pass. I pray that you find that peace and you keep it, and you remember that God gives peace. God's blessings adds no sorrow, and may that be your portion this day and always, all through the year 2023. In Jesus' name, thank you for watching. Bye.